The morning Maya found the suicide note in her locker, she knew two things for certain. She hadn't written it, and she was going to die. The note was in her handwriting, her exact handwriting, down to the way she dotted her I's with tiny circles and the distinctive slant of her cursive. Even the paper was from her personal stationery. The cream-colored set her grandmother had given her for her 16th birthday. I can't take it anymore. The voices won't stop. They know what we did in room 237. They know what we found. I'm sorry. Maya. Her hands shook as she read it, the words blurring through sudden tears. Students streamed past her in the hallway, heading to first period, completely unaware that Maya was holding what appeared to be her own death sentence. She hadn't written this. She was sure of it. But the handwriting was perfect, the paper was hers, and somehow, impossibly, it had appeared in her locked locker overnight. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jake. Found something weird in my locker. Can you meet me in the library? Emergency. Another buzz, this time from Chloe. Hey Maya, we need to talk, now. Something's wrong. Maya's blood turned to ice. She crumpled the note and shoved it deep into her backpack, then ran toward the library. Her sneakers squeaked against the polished floors as she dodged. Slower-moving students, her heart hammering against her ribs. She found Jake and Chloe huddled in the back corner of the library, behind the tall shelves of dusty reference books. Both looked pale and shaken. Tell me you didn't write this, Jake said without preamble, shoving a piece of paper at her. Maya's stomach dropped. It was another suicide note, this one in Jake's messy print. I can't live with what we discovered. The guilt is eating me alive. Room 237 should have stayed sealed. I didn't write it, Maya whispered. Did you write yours? What do you mean Jake stopped, his eyes widening. You got one too? Chloe wordlessly handed over her own note. Written in her characteristic bubbly script, the voices in the static won't leave me alone. They want us to pay for what we found. I can't fight them anymore. I'm sorry. The three friends stared at each other in growing horror. We need to call the police, Chloe whispered. Someone's trying to frame us. Make it look like we're planning to... No, Maya's voice was sharp. Think about it. These are in our handwriting. Perfect copies. Who would believe us? But we didn't write them, Jake protested. Can you prove that? Would you believe us if you were a cop? The question hung in the air like smoke. Maya thought about how it would look. Three seniors, obviously stressed about college applications, claiming someone had forged their suicide notes in their exact handwriting, using their personal stationery, and somehow placed them in their locked lockers. Besides, Maya continued, this is connected to room 237, to what we found down there. Someone doesn't want us talking about it. 4 months ago, Maya, Jake, and Chloe had broken into the basement storage room, looking for old homecoming decorations. Instead, they'd found boxes of newspapers from 1987, detailing the mysterious disappearance of 23 Riverside High seniors. The school had claimed it was a graduation prank, but the newspaper articles painted a different picture, one of cover-ups and unanswered questions. Jake had photographed the articles for a history project they'd never completed. The photos were still on his phone, backed up to the cloud, digital evidence of a decades-old secret. You think someone's been watching us? Chloe asked. Before Maya could answer, every computer in the library turned on simultaneously. The sudden electronic chorus of startup sounds made everyone jump. Students and staff looked around in confusion as monitors flickered to life throughout the room. Then, in perfect unison, every screen displayed the same message. Maya Chen, Jake Morrison, Chloe Valdez, room 237, after school. Come alone, or everyone sees the notes. The message stayed for exactly 10 seconds, then vanished. The computers powered down as suddenly as they'd started, leaving the library in stunned silence. Did everyone just see that? A sophomore whispered to her friend. Technical glitch, the librarian announced loudly, though her voice shook. Everyone back to your studies. Maya, Jake, and Chloe exchanged terrified glances. Whoever was behind this had just demonstrated they could control the school's entire computer network. The suicide notes weren't just threats, they were proof of concept. If these notes surfaced, especially after the public display they'd just witnessed, the three friends would be branded as attention-seeking, potentially suicidal teenagers. "We have to go," Maya said quietly. "To room 237 tonight." "Maya, no!" Chloe grabbed her arm. "This is obviously a trap." "Everything's a trap now," Maya replied. "But if we don't show up, those notes go public. Our parents see them, the school administration, the police. We get put on suicide watch, locked up in psychiatric holds, and whoever's doing this gets away with it." Jake nodded grimly. "She's right. We're already in too deep." The rest of the school day passed in a blur of anxiety and paranoia. Maya couldn't concentrate on her classes, couldn't stop thinking about the perfect forgery of her handwriting, the impossible coordination of the computer display. Whoever was behind this had resources, technical knowledge, and access to their personal belongings. But why? What was so important about room 237 and those old newspapers that someone would go to such lengths to silence them? As the final bell rang, Maya made her decision. She would go to room 237, face whatever was waiting there, and demand answers. The alternative, living in fear, watching her friends suffer, letting their tormentor win, was unacceptable. She just hoped she'd live long enough to regret it. The basement of Riverside High felt different at night. The fluorescent lights buzzed ominously overhead, casting harsh shadows that seemed to move when Maya wasn't looking directly at them. Her footsteps echoed off the concrete walls as she made her way toward room 237, each step bringing her closer to answers she wasn't sure she wanted to hear. The door stood open, revealing a room that was no longer just a storage space. Someone had set up a makeshift office inside, a desk, a computer, and along the walls, dozens of photos pinned to corkboards. Maya stepped inside and immediately recognized the faces staring back at her. From the photographs, missing students. Dozens of them, spanning decades. Some she recognized from old yearbooks, others were more recent. All of them looked to be around her age. All of them bore the same expression of confused terror. "Hello, Maya." She spun around to find a figure standing in the doorway. A girl about her own age, wearing a Riverside High Letterman jacket from 1987. Her blonde hair was styled in the big, teased fashion of the 80s, and her blue eyes held a depth of sadness that seemed impossible for someone so young. "You're dead," Maya whispered. "So are you," the girl replied. "Or you will be if you don't help me." Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. "You're Sarah Mitchell, from the newspaper articles." Sarah smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I've been waiting so long for someone smart enough to understand, brave enough to act. When you found those newspapers, when Jake photographed them, I knew you might be the ones. You wrote the suicide notes. You controlled the computers. I've learned to manipulate electronic systems. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you have 35 years to practice." Sarah stepped closer. Maya noticed she cast no shadow. "But I'm running out of time. They're planning something big, something that will make 1987 look like a warm-up." "Who's they?" "The administration, the school board, the same people who've been covering up murders for 70 years. Sarah gestured to the photographs on the walls. Riverside High was built on a Native American burial ground. The construction disturbed something that should have been left alone. Students started disappearing in the 1950s, and rather than close the school, they decided to manage the situation. Maya stared at the photos, her mind reeling. "Manage it how?" "Feed it, 1 or 2 students a year. Usually the troublemakers, the ones asking too many questions. Make it look like accidents, suicides, runaways. Keep the community from panicking, keep the school open, keep the money flowing." "That's impossible." "People would notice." "People see what they want to see. And the families who ask too many questions. They have accidents too." Sarah's voice turned bitter. "My parents died in a car crash 6 months after I disappeared. Brake failure, tragic coincidence." Maya felt sick. "What do you want from me?" "The same thing I wanted 35 years ago, to expose the truth. The real records are hidden in the sub-basement. Student files, death certificates, payoff records, everything you need to prove what's been happening here." "And if I refuse?" Sarah's expression hardened. "Then history repeats itself. The homecoming dance is next Friday. 800 students in the gym. The exits lock, the sprinkler system releases something other than water, and by Monday morning, Riverside High has the biggest graduation prank in history." The threat was clear. Maya thought of her classmates, her friends, Her little sister who would be a freshman next year. You'd kill innocent people? I'd do what I have to do to make sure this stops. The question is, will you help me save them? Maya looked at the photos again, at decades of young faces frozen in terror, at the evidence of a conspiracy so massive and long-running that it seemed impossible. But the suicide notes in her backpack, the synchronized computer display, the ghost standing in front of her, all of it pointed to the same horrifying conclusion. Riverside High was a death trap, and she was the only one who could spring it. What do you need me to do? Sarah smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. First, we need to get your friends. They're going to need to see this to believe it. Then we go deeper into the basement than anyone has gone for 35 years. And then we burn it all down. Metaphorically speaking, of course. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the weight of destiny settling on her shoulders. She was 18 years old, scared out of her mind, and apparently the only thing standing between her, classmates and a massacre decades in the making. Let's do it, she said. Sarah's smile widened. I knew I chose the right person. Welcome to the resistance, Maya Chen. As they left room 237, together, the living girl and the dead one, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking into a trap far bigger than she'd imagined. But she also couldn't shake the conviction that she was exactly where she needed to be. The real horror was just beginning.